Hi, this is Asim.
This is Sujoy.
This is Amrita.
And you're listening to Khandaan, a Bollywood podcast about the three main Khans of the Hindi film industry.
Amir,
Salman,
And Shahrukh.
Hi, you're listening to Khandaan, a Bollywood podcast regular feed. Thank you so much for your support over the years. We now have a Patreon channel with bonus content and exclusive merch for those of you who would like to support us. Every dollar goes towards creating more and better content. Visit us at patreon.com/Khandaan podcast.
hi, and welcome to a new episode of. Sorry. I was going to say new episode of Ram Jaane.
Ram Jaane. I could hear it coming.
a new episode of Ram Jaane.
Welcome to a new episode of Khandaan Podcast. My name is Asim Berni. I'm joined with my lovely co-host Amrita Hateli and Sujoy Shana.
ये शानपट्टी करने का नहीं भाई अपन आयला है
Kya Asim bhai?
What would be your Gunda name if you could get to pick it?
Oh, I don't know.
Is that not a game you guys played in your youth? No?
ए पप्पू पाकिया I am so far removed from like the Mumbai Tapori zone growing up. We wouldn't even dare to imitate it.
Really?
Yeah.
Chalo. We are reviewing Ram Jaane this episode.
Ram Jaane why we are doing it, but sure.
But yeah,
I picked it.
yeah.
Yeah, I just have one question for Sujoy, which is Kaiko Sujoy, Kaiko tu aisa kiya rahe Kaiko.
Because I think the love for Shahrukh was just brewing everywhere. It's been like almost a year since Pathan, and like we forget that this was also an era in Shahrukh's career where everything he did eventually became like spoof material for everybody who wanted to mimic Shahrukh. This was the benchmark, or this was the sort of template they went back to, and it's such a hoot to watch this. It's on like for all the bad reasons, all the wrong reasons. And like we have done Patthar Ke Phool with Bhai, and I think the last Amir movie we did was Raja Hindustani, so it only made sense for us to revisit an older era of Shahrukh. And this movie, I hadn't watched it, so I didn't know what I was leading us into. And I had only heard the song on like Ek Se Badkar Ek or Philip's Top 10 back in the day. So that's why I thought, let's suffer together, Khandaan.
I think it's also some sort of anniversary, like whatever year, of Ram Jaane. And I also saw some like people popping up on social media talking again about this movie.
Mm-hmm.
This was the first foray of Shahrukh into action and things like that. And I was like, I don't think people remember what this movie was. So maybe we need to bring the dial back to, 1995 and, talk about Ram Jaane. For those that don't know Ram Jaane, this is the plot from IMDb. A social worker tries diligently to steer a group of wayward street urchins on the right path, but his childhood friend, now a fearless gangster, plans to bring the children into his fold. This is a remake of Angels with Dirty Faces, the 1938 movie.
That I'd forgotten that, and then I was like watching this movie and we got to the end where he's like hamming it up for the kids, and that's when it suddenly like occurred to me, and I was just like, oh my god, this is that movie. And it was like a complete surprise for me.
I've not watched Angel with Dirty Faces. It reminds me of that fictional movie, the black and white movie they include in Home Alone. Merry Christmas, you filthy animals. What's that?
It's actually a really good movie, and if you like gangster movies, then you should watch it. Like James Cagney is like amazing in that film.
Yeah, it's been voted as one of the best movies ever made. That's how good of a movie Angels with Dirty Faces is.
The spoof movie I'm talking about is Angels with Filthy Souls.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm assuming that's a reference to that, right? So, Rajiv Mehra remade this, the director, with Shahrukh, and he seems to be more of a. I mean, he's not really. He did a lot of Zaban Samal Ke. Remember that show, Zaban Samal Ke, and
the blatant remake of Mind Your Language.
Yeah, and Office. So he he definitely has a connection with Pankaj Kapoor, who has a very big role here. I don't see any
Papu Technicolor.
Yeah. I don't see anything in him that would say that he can remake some classic movies, and he watch it. So I was watching Ram Jaane, and I just couldn't handle it after an hour in, and I just paused it. And I went to Angels with Dirty Faces. I watched the whole movie, and then I came back to watch Ram Jaane, the rest of it, because that was literally the only way I could, cope with it. And the thing is that every choice that they make to adapt it is a bad choice. Like every choice made is a bad choice in this movie. But Amrita, do you remember Ram Jaane? Had you seen it back in the day, or is this kind of like Sujoy your first watch?
No, I had watched this when it first came out, but what I remember the most about this movie is the fact that Juhi in this film is in love with Vivek Mushran. And even back then, I was like, you cannot cast Juhi Chawla and Shahrukh Khan in a movie and have Juhi falling in love with somebody else. Like that is just not gonna happen. Like that's just not, it's not right.
Yeah.
It's
and Vivek Mushran with that Chihuahua face. Like you cannot convince me.
I mean, there's like Shahrukh like hamming it up to like 11, and then there's Vivek Mushran who's evidently in a completely different movie. And poor Juhi, who is so cute in this. My God, she's just luminous. And then apparently she's in love with Vivek Mushran. And I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know, you guys. So yeah, that's what I remember the most.
So that's one of the things in the original. Vivek Mushran's character wasn't a social worker; he was a priest. So he was a Catholic priest. So there would be no love triangle. So that whole aspect doesn't really exist. And I also don't because of that. And clearly, this movie is very beholden to who Shahrukh was at that time. I think Sujoy, what you're mentioning, when Salman Khan's fans make fun of Shahrukh, when there's Shahrukh impersonators. This is the Shahrukh era that they copy. This is Bakra Shahrukh, Hakla Shahrukh, whatever you want to call it. And also like obsessive lover Shahrukh. Like it has all of those tropes.
And like weirdly violent, like in his love. Like, not only obsessive, but physically violent, just throws around the girl or around. Like, oh my God. And throws himself all around. He does not care a damn about his own body. Like,
oh my God, there is this behind the scenes video of them shooting, I think the title track of this film. And it's on YouTube and you can watch it. And it's literally Shahrukh like breaking every bone in his body to film this song, which is not even like a great song. Like nobody's singing this song, it's insane.
Strangely enough, the title track is the only thing that I remember from this movie. Like,
I mean, it's the only thing that anyone remembers, but it's not because like it's a good song.
No,
it's because
it's not.
It's just one of those earworm things that's just like Ram Jaane, Ram Jaane, Ram Jaane, and you're just like, okay, fine, Ram Jaane.
This movie starts and like within the first 10 minutes they've said Ram Jaane like 50 times already. Like, what the hell is going on?
So also they cast like this kid to play young Shahrukh.
Yeah.
And I was like, did Shahrukh approve this casting? Like a lot of these kids have that like that face where they don't look like kids. They actually look like grown-ups that are like just short, you know. Who was that guy in Celebrity Big Brother? Hashbullah, whatever. That
oh my god, that's funny. That's funny you mention it, because I just saw a video of him meeting Mike Tyson.
That's exactly the
clearly did not know that he was a grown man and is just like cuddling him.
That's what I'm saying. Rajiv Mehra, the director, had no idea these were actually kids or grown-ups. Like when he cast these kids, like they don't seem like kids to me, you know. But the kids part is funny because the movie is really about the soul of the kids and about, you know, saving the next generation and the influence of, you know, looking up to gangsters and easy money. But because here they shifted to Shahrukh obsessive lover and love triangle, all of that just gets lost, and the kids that we have are just annoying as you know. I mean, they're so annoying. They're badly cast. They're bad actors. You have Dost leading the pack. Dost, remember that guy from?
No, you're absolutely right, because the whole time that I was watching this movie, I kept thinking that this is such a good example of a movie that just goes off kilter because of the lead actor. You know, because there are movies that, you know, in which you have a lead actor, but it doesn't matter if they're good or they're bad. Like the supporting cast and the story sort of carries the weight of the rest of the storytelling. But the thing is, you really can't do that with Shahrukh or
in
with
that
like
era,
Salman.
at least in that era.
I mean, even today you couldn't, but back then you absolutely could not, because the man just like ate up the screen like nobody's business, you know? And so you can't help but be like sort of rooted to whatever character Shahrukh is playing, but also the movie, like, you know, like this is back in the 90s. So I'm pretty sure they didn't have a script apart from like a VHS cassette of Angels with Dirty Faces. And they were just like, well, today we're going to do this scene. And I'm pretty sure like Shahrukh being successful in the couple of years before this, and this movie came out in 1995. It has just been like 2 years since Shahrukh made his debut. But in those 2 years, he's already made like Bazigar. He's already made Dar. He's already made Anjam. These are all movies that, you know, just really helped him create this persona of a man who does bad things, but everybody loves him anyway. And I'm sure like Rajiv Mehra just found himself going more and more towards that. And I often wonder, in movies like this or in Bazigar, etc., like what did they tell the other guy? Like what were they telling Vivek Mushran? You know, like actually you're the good guy. You like tu hero hai, lekin wo Shahrukh hai na. Like, and it must have gotten to a point where, like, you know, after Sunny Deol, after that other guy from Bazigar, whose name I can't remember, after Vivek Mushran, like there must have been a time when like people heard that pitch and they were just like, oh, I see. I'm playing the side character. I get it.
But I wanna, okay, we're mentioning the good movies, you know, Bazigar and stuff, but this is the era that Shahrukh was in. These are the movies that came out around, taking out DDLJ. We had Zamana Deewana, Guddu, Oh Darling Ye Hai India, Ram Jaane, Trimurti, English Babu Desi Mem, Chahat, Army, Dushman Dunyaga. So on our hands and our knees, we have to thank Adi Chopra for setting Shahrukh's mind right and getting him whatever zone he was in that era of doing these kind of movies. Because he would have continued. He's having so much fun. You know, he would just do this.
Like he was, like those movies, I can actually tell you exactly why he signed all of those movies. Because if you look at the people who are making those movies, you know, the directors, the actors, like, you know, he signed on Army for Sridevi. Like he just wanted to act with Sridevi. You know, he wanted to make a movie with Ketan Mehta, which is why he made like
Oh Darling
Ye Hai India. Like all of those things, you know, Zamana Deewana, like all of those films, I can see why, like you can just see the fan in him the movie fan making those decisions and not really caring about like, oh, like I need to have a strategy, I need to become a star, like none of that stuff. It was just incredibly fearless, but also like Asim said, it's Adi Chopra and I would imagine Yash Chopra and like that just said that, hey, you can't just act with whoever you like just
Yeah.
because you're like, I want to spend like 5 minutes with this person. You need to actually think about your career as a career.
Yeah. And so I think Ram Jaane is kind of that idea where, he's adding a bit of Scarface in there. He's adding a bit of Vijay Dinanath Chauhan in there. The shirt. Sometimes he also seems to add a bit of Ellen DeGeneres and Hillary Clinton in there. Like a few moments, I was like, wait, what's going on here?
Fashion choice in this movie is very, very like defined. Like Shahrukh, you are not going to wear a single shirt and always going to wear suits, even in the dream sequences of Juhi or Shahrukh.
The funny part is that so I was telling a couple of people who are like much younger that we're going to be doing a episode on Ram Jaane, and they were just like, what is that? Is that a new movie? And I was like, no, child, it is not a new movie.
Yeah.
But I had seen other people like Shahrukh super fans on Twitter. I had seen them talk about Ram Jaane just the week before. And the reason why they were talking about him is because he was dressed pretty much the same during the Jamnagar ka Met Gala.
No shirt.
Without the shirt and like the big, the suits with the deep V's. So yeah, Shahrukh knows a look when he sees it.
But I do think the look works better once you have chesticle muscles. I think you need some definition in there, because here we just have flat Shahrukh, which is weird. The funny part of the suit is you're talking about the dream sequences. It's when they are in Mauritius and he's still dancing on the beach with the suit on, and he is so tanned, like you can see literally like the skin be like peeling off because it's like has a V of tan in there. It's hilarious that he's still wearing those suits, but yeah.
I love Bollywood before they discovered things like trainers and skincare.
Yeah. Or the audience in the background that doesn't know that they're just randomly Rambo sequencing a dance sequence here, and they're just like staring at him on the beach, and they have no shame. It's just
kya ho raha hai mere samne?
Yeah.
I definitely do your
100%, 100%. Like not just one. I think 4 or 5 movies have been shot in the same era. Yeah. So. Yeah, so we start with the whole, kids angle and stuff like that, and we have to start about the sequence why he's called Ram Jaane, though, right?
It's a throwback. It's a foreshadowing of things to happen in PK. Like PK ho kya? It's the same logic. Like somebody asks a Baba, and the Baba is high on weed, and he's like Ram Jaane, and
he also has a lot of like sleeve bread. Like every time out of his sleeves he produces a bread. It's like, why?
I will not be eating that bread.
Exactly. Plus, if you have so much bread in your sleeve, get a bag. Like put the bag next to you. Why are we keeping everything in your sleeve? So sad. Oh yeah. Yeah. So he's the one calls him Ram Jaane, and he just is ecstatic for having a name, and that becomes the whole theme for the rest of the movie, right?
Oh no, the movie starts with somebody just delivering the baby in a bin.
Yeah.
This is like random as cold open, and then it does not stop. Like the breakneck speed at which this movie delivers plot lines after subplots and everything, it's just nuts. And then for the most part of the movie, nothing happens. It's just like...
Yeah, you just keep getting introduced to people, and then they just wander off. And then you're just like, what happened?
But then basically Ram Jaane becomes like a big ass gangster, right? Like that's the idea of it. And but I don't know when did The Mask came out? Like when was that era? Was that like the same era or
yeah.
Because there's certain elements in his way of being a badass action star that are very cartoonish. Because literally, he kills one person with an exploding cigar. And then, secondly, there's a huge shootout going on because they're smuggling. Obviously, in that era, we're still smuggling a lot of shit. and Ram Jaane has a cutout of himself as Ram Jaane
Oh my
holding
God,
a
yes.
gun. Who comes that prepared to a shootout?
Printer se leke. Mask came out the previous year in 94.
See, then I knew, and I know Shahrukh must have loved the mask. Like, that is his shit, the mask, right? And he's like, thoda element dalna chahiye, an exploding cigar that needs to be in there, like Bugs
And the
Bunny.
poster.
Yeah. I was just thinking, imagine if you have to go to the printer and get your cutout done, and then you're like, no, paper thoda patla hai, we need thicker one, do it again. You know, that kind of thing.
Life size hona mangta hai.
Yes, khada nahi ho raha, you know, it's not standing, we need something else.
Khada nahi ho raha.
These are top tips for Prince William.
Oh.
An avid listener of Khandaan, I'm sure.
Yes.
Kaila Kate, kaisi hai tu?
Kaila, tu chali gayi. Kहाँ गई?
Cut to cut.
मेरी बाइक को कहाँ?
Oh God. So then basically the love triangle happens because there's bachpan ka pyar between Juhi Chawla and Shahrukh. Bachpan ki setting, actually, that's what it
But
is.
then Bachpan Ka Pyar, if you're mentioning, then we also have to mention the Bachpan Ki Dushmani with Puneet Issar and
Yes.
the amount of ear hair that this guy has in this movie and how much it is highlighted with the backlight. The light people, the cinematographer were all on it. Like, this is the selling point of this movie. Like, jitna body hair dikhaoge, matlab. And oh my God, it's just too much.
It's also that era where everybody has like a line, right? So he has Jamaila, Ayla, and then one guy has, ye kya politics hai, that they also like.
Oh man.
There was and Shahrukh obviously with his khalas,
Yeah, what the hell was that also? Like,
yeah, that's a Shahrukh vibing, man. Shahrukh was doing whatever he wanted to do. Nobody could stop him. We say this a lot about Salman, right? Like, Salman just does whatever he wants, but Shahrukh is clearly doing the same thing here. Like. Yeah. So then they all grow up, and Vivek Mushran is running like a orphanage,
Mr. India,
halfway house, something like that.
But it's like Mr. India, but a lot of like inappropriate contact between these children, because they're like just like sexually harassing each other left and right. It is like shit is going on in Vivek Mushran's orphanage. He should not get funding, that guy,
And then these kids are also like, selling tickets on black and gambling and doing all sorts of shit.
Vivek is not doing a good job of raising these kids at all. They should take away these kids from him. But Juhi still loves him. He's such a good guy because he's so... And that was another thing. I think also this movie might have gotten a resurgence with Animal and this whole MRA kind of thing that's going on about, being alpha. Because when Animal came out, Shahrukh's clips was being played about, Shahrukh saying that, whenever I play a bad character, I make sure that he has a bad end. And being that the difference between Animal, right? And I do think, there's like Shahrukh is the alpha and Vivek is the beta, and but Juhi still loves Vivek, and she never gets to love Shahrukh at all. So that's, I think, there's a bit of kind of coming back to this movie from that point of view too. I don't know if this movie has anything interesting to say about that, because they're so outmatched, and the Juhi Vivek love angle just looks, there's no chemistry, there's no nothing there at all, Yeah.
Right. It's never established that Bela was ever in love with this guy. It's just like we see these people grow up and then Bela is in love. We just are thrown into that mix. And we see that this, what's the character played by Vivek? Murli. He is just...
Murli.
Yeah. Yeah, he's even given a name called Murli. Ja baja. Yeah. I don't know. This movie is just... subplot after subplot for Shahrukh to do what Shahrukh does, and then end of movie.
This movie does have the Tum Aadmi Ho Ya Bandar version 1 in it when Juhi Chawla meets Shahrukh for the first time after he comes back from jail. There's a Bandar reference in there also. So I was like, this is the much weaker version of when it happens later on in is it Yes Boss or in no what's
फिर भी
Dil Hai
दिल है
Hindustani.
हिंदुस्तानी.
right. It gets memed a lot with not too much context. But yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know what, like, it's would you recommend this movie? Like is it fun? Was it fun for you, Amrita? Was this a fun watch?
It gave me a literal headache when I tried to watch it the first time around. And I don't know how I got to the end of this movie. Like, I hated it.
For me, I started looking at Easter eggs of things that are happening around the movie, you know, like in the London se Bombay se Kangra, Disco Bhangra song. In the club, there are Batman posters.
Yes.
For no rhyme or reason. There's just Batman posters everywhere.
Oh, I think I know why there was a Batman. Why was there a Batman theme?
Why?
It's literally for having the sequence where there's the gun hidden in the gun. Like he hides the gun in the gun. So they needed obviously like some sort of gun cartoon in there. And then they pulled out the gun from the gun.
What else? Pankaj Kapoor, who we sort of revere in the highest regards, is just, I don't know, was he underpaid? Was he on acid? What was he doing in this movie?
So I want to talk actually a bit about Pankaj Kapoor because you're saying revered. Why is he revered, Sujoy?
Like, he's done a lot of television, I think, which we absolutely love. Like his work in Office as Musadilal is like talked about for generations. Karamchand back in the day was the only detective show that we started watching, and that was like really groundbreaking for us, you know, as an introduction to that genre. And then I think one of the big movie roles that I think of him when it comes to acting is Makbool and also Roja.
You know, I've never seen Roja.
What?
I've never seen Roja. Yeah. It was on, I think they have a remaster of this on Prime or something like that, and I was like, hey, actually I've never seen this movie. I mean, I would love the soundtrack and listen to it so many times, but I actually never sat down to watch the movie. But probably it was like badly dubbed in that time, or it wasn't easy to find, you know. It was like Roja was like a sleeper hit, you know. It didn't it crossed over, but it wasn't like, you know, like a popular Bollywood kind of movie. So I just kind of missed it at that time. So but speaking of prints, like how crisp is the print that Netflix has? Like I was amazed at this.
That's what happens when Red Chillies buys back old Shahrukh's old movies and then like puts it on something. I mean, those people are really like, we talk a lot about Red Chillies doing like VFX and stuff, but honestly, they also do a really good job of restoring Shahrukh's old movies.
Yeah,
all the Eagle film stuff. They did with the same with English Babu Desi Meme as well, and the songs look amazing.
Really?
I can't dare to watch that movie, but the songs looks amazing. Like Divana, Hua Main Divana is just like Sonali Bendre looks like so good.
I was gonna say, if anybody would watch that movie, it would be you, probably.
Yeah.
Because of Sonali Bendre. But like, I think this, I was talking about this in Patthar Ke Phool at that time, like when we were recording, like that movie looked so good. I think Ram Jaane is restored, but the movie doesn't look good necessarily. I mean, the print looks good, but the sets, the action,
I mean, it's all done on Film City ka B plot, you know. It's just one small village they've built, and then everything happens within that same locality. Like the shadi is happening in that mohalla, and after the shadi, Shahrukh is dancing Ram Jaane.
And I just also, I think I was surprised to read this on Wikipedia that this movie was a hit, actually, because in my mind it flopped, but apparently it didn't. It was like quite good and successful movie.
Well, they made it cheap, so that's why
that's probably the reason. And you can see it, like they spared every expense. Like basically,
Poster पे सब पैसा डाल दिया. The 2D poster of Shahrukh life
yeah.
size.
Because I remember like there were like these slew of movies that came out. I remember them really well because they all had good music, and this one does too. Like even Zamana Divana had like good songs in it, and all of those movies were so disappointing. And I've probably seen all of them. The only movie I ever quit until a long time was Guddu. I was just like, I cannot sit through this. Like even then, I knew it was just so bad. So I read,
And all of them, if you like take all these names, right? Guddu, Zamana Divana, this Ram Jaane, and like English Babu Desi Mein, Chahat, even like they share the similar aesthetic. Like if you intermingle scenes from each movies and do an edit, you can't tell which movie is which.
Well, that's what I was thinking about this film, that this film is like so typical of 1980s filmmaking, actually, more than 1990s. Because when I think of 1990s filmmaking, I'm thinking of Yash Chopra or Adi Chopra or Karan Johar even.
Or Ram Gopal Verma.
Yeah, or Ram Gopal Verma, whose Satya comes out like 3 years after this one. And
Rangila came out this year.
Yeah, but like Satya completely changed the gangster movie in Bollywood forever, you know.
yeah.
But this movie is very 80s. Like this is something that if you told me it had released in 1988, I would absolutely believe you. This is the kind of movie that you know, like Dharmendra or somebody was making in the 80s, you know.
You can also really see it in the clothes they wear, I feel like, more than anything. There's something very 80s about those clothes. You know, like I'm just going through all of these movies of that era, right? And again, except Dilwale, you have to go almost to Yes Boss until there's like modern styling a little bit, you know, the way their clothes are. And then immediately after Yes Boss, it's Dil To Pagal Hai, which was a big turn in branded clothes and things like that. But here, what Shahrukh is wearing, you can really imagine Jackie Shroff or Anil Kapoor or Sunny Deol wearing in that same way, right?
Yeah.
And that just feels, that dates the movie a lot.
Oh, for sure. Like, especially that song, Chori Chori Chalo Gori People Ki Chhao Mein. Like, that's such an 80s lyrics. And the dress that Juhi is made to wear is that Gao Ki Gori. But it's also like what Rishi Kapoor and Juhi did in Bol Radha Bol, you know?
I was definitely getting Bol Radha Bol vibes from that song. But let's talk about the soundtrack a little bit. Like, we're going around it. This is if there could be a more Anu Malik soundtrack, you cannot, you know, make me think like, and not like Anu Malik on the top of his game. Anu Malik like cheap drawer se nikal ke dena kapde. Like, but every song you could hear Anu Malik just belting it out on his harmonium, you know, and just like, you know, I could sing this song, like, you know, like Pump Up the Bhangra. That song, I just had Anu Malik's voice in my head, but this is that Bali Brahma Bhatt, his 5 minutes of fame that Bali Brahma Bhatt had in the Hindi film industry. He did Amma Dekh, and then it was pretty much this, and then maybe one or two songs, and it was done. It's that post Baba Sehgal era where everybody suddenly had to become a rapper, you know. It's painful.
Well, like, it's hilarious that nobody of this generation would necessarily know of Bali Brahma, but he was such a big thing. Like, Amma Dekh was a phenomenon, man. And then this came out, but this wasn't such a big hit, but it took him forever to then give us like Kemche, which was like 2000s, I think, with Jis Desh Mein Ganga Rehta Hai, Govinda and Rinki Khanna.
No, like Bali, like I remember, like I owned an album. Like I don't even remember what the songs were on it, but I remember very distinctly buying like an album by
there was
Bali
the Gabbar mix.
That's what it was. You're right.
Ye Mumbai Shehar Hadso Ka Shehar
Hai. Yeah.
And what is this? I don't know what this is.
There's you know, do you remember this actor from Bandit Queen, Nirmal Pandey, who is no more with us? He was on that music video, and he did the Gabbar laugh. Yeah, it was, and I think the model was Namrata Barua. I think who plays
I don't
the
remember.
damsel in distress in that music video. That was such a badass music video, and everybody bought that album. That was like Bali Brahmabad's calling card.
I need to search this. I've literally never heard of
I'll
this
send
song.
it to you. I'll send it to you.
And let's add it to the show notes too for people that haven't seen it.
This was the peak era of, or not, it wasn't the peak era. This was like building up to the peak era of indie pop. Yeah. Like Channel V and all were just like sort of putting money into Indian musicians, and we were just seeing like all the stuff
like
come.
Style Bhai was happening at this time.
Oh my God. Yeah.
He's the guy with the gloves, right? Style Bhai used to wear gloves. Yeah. They all had a damn gimmick, like it's crazy.
Oh my God.
And then obviously we have the Ram Jaane title song, which is what do you think about that, Sujoy?
Like it or not, it was like everywhere, and I don't know if I like this song or just relate it to a certain point of time in my life, and like for like 4 or 5 weeks it was always on number 10 in Philip's top 10 countdown.
It wasn't even number 1. It was number
10. Number 1 was Tujhe Dekha To Ye Jana Sanam that year, right? Or Jati Hu Main. It was between those two, Jati Hu Main or Tujhe Dekha To Ye Jana Sanam. Ram Jaane was, and Mangta Hai Kya was somewhere in the top 3 or 4.
But only after 10 o'clock, no.
It was a crazy year for Indian music, but Ram Jaane is such a template Bollywood track with the dholki but I could not remember, like, I always thought Udit Narayan and Alka Yagnik sang the song, and Sonu Nigam comes in with Vivek Mushran's playback, and it was like, oh, Sonu Nigam was also in this song. It was a surprise for me, because this was before Pardes, so Sonu Nigam was mostly singing like T-Series Mohammad Rafi songs.
But
so
I mean, he's Vivek Mushran's voice, so clearly his career wasn't that great.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, was this before Bewafa Sanam? Let me check.
Yeah,
because Acha Sila was a big thing, right?
I think Bewafa Sanam was like 96 or something. I don't know.
I like Ram Jaane because everybody gets their happy line and their sad line in it, Like they also get the moralistic line, like, what do you know about the world? Oh, if you do not sort out your life, then this is going to happen to you. And then they just go, Ram Jaane, Ram Jaane,
Bewafa Sanam came out this year itself. And this was, so... lots of stuff happening in
it's really like a dynamic, like era change kind of year. A lot of things change. Like this is the last of that moment in a way.
But it's also really depressing to think that 95 was like, yes, like it was a year of change and like a lot of stuff was really bad, but it was also like actually dynamic and like driven by people who were actually trying to make something genuine versus say like 2023, which was also a year of great change and like, like us sort of like trying to figure our way through. But everything is just so corporate contentized that it's just like ridiculous and stupid and everything seems the same and like something that you've seen a million times before. It's just really sad.
So I'm just looking at the list of movies that came out in 95. There's DDLJ, Karan Arjun, Raja, Barsat, Rangila, Kuli number 1, Sabse Bada Khiladi, Trimurti, Ram Jaane, and Akele Hum Akele Tum. These are the top 10 grossing movies, right? So there's such a huge like variety of in the way of what these movies are trying to do in the 90s. And then we go back to then we move to 96 and we're just back to the same old shit. It's Raja Hindustani, Ghatak, Jeet, Sajan Chale Sasural, Agni Shakshi, Khiladiyon Ka Khiladi, Jaan, Ajay, Dil Jale, Krishna. We're back to the 80s now.
That's crazy, man. Like, there's so many titles you've just rattled off that like people have never talked about. I think we should find a way. I mean, should we not be talking about Sabse Bada Khiladi and Dil Jale? Like, what is this? Like, I think we are the perfect place for this absolute nonsense. We need
Paisa do, we will talk.
Obviously, Amrita needs to be paid for this shit because she's not gonna do this for free. But
Absolutely, the fuck not.
but yeah, if somebody on Patreon wants to be a voter of the specific tier, we will do Dil Jale or Sabse Bada Khiladi. Let's do a few other of these songs that they came out. Okay, this song I had completely erased from my brain cells. It's called Phek Hawa Mein Ek Chumma Main Catch Kar Lu. And the moment that beat started, it all came
knew.
flooding back to me. And I was like, oh my God, this song. It is
Yeah.
so bad. I don't know, like, they didn't even, like it's badly sung, first of all. Like, you have Abhijit Bigat Bhattacharya and
Anuradha Sharma, Sriram.
I don't know, she's just singing so false in this song. Like, it's just like her, like, why didn't they make her do another take? Like, I don't understand.
They
And
probably didn't have the budget.
I'm telling you, they saved every expense. Like, like, but like also they have suddenly, I think all of their budget went away because they seem to have added CGI kisses in the song. Did you notice that? You were probably on your phone when that was happening.
Yeah.
So when Juhi says when Shahrukh says Peka Hawa Mein Ek Chumma, there's like CGI kisses that fly and then they hit Shahrukh. But at that time,
yeah, I remember that at the beginning of the song. Yeah,
but they're shooting this song in Mauritius, I think.
yeah.
And at that time, when they had to add CGI, they had to darken the screen. So you're in Mauritius, but these 30 seconds are super dark. You have these really bright kisses flying around, and then they hit his cheeks or whatever. And yeah,
It kind of reminded me of. Do you guys remember? Kadal Desam, I think, with Mustafa.
Yeah,
That movie had a song called Hello Doctor.
Yeah.
And that had so many animations happening.
Yeah.
Or even in Chikabuku Rele.
Yeah.
It was kind of like the cool thing. Oh, South mein dekha hai ye, so let's do this.
yeah,
you know?
I think so. Because
The weird part about that song is like the moment I heard it, I knew it.
yeah.
You know? Like and it's the song that I have not thought about. Like Asim was saying, like I have not thought about that song for a single second in 30 years. If you asked me about that song, I would be like, no, there's no such song. And then the moment I heard it, I was like, of course I know this song.
And I had to go back and search where Anuradha Sriram, like what other songs has she sung. And on her wiki page, Ram Jaane is not there. It's deleted, I think. Her Hindi singing career begins with Virasat in 97. Right? And she sung obviously Chunari Chunari from BV number 1. Very, very famous. She's also sung Dupatta Mera from Mujhe Kuch Kehna Hai with Kareena. And then Prem Jal Mein from Jis Desh Mein Ganga Rehta Hai.
What kind of a career is this anyway? Like, what? Okay.
And all, like, yeah, when you say Chunari, it is that weird ass voice, and even at that is like just jarring to me. It's not like a soothing voice or like, it's
not even a sexy voice. It's just like a weird voice.
Yeah. Maybe
that's her, like, USP. I guess nobody else can make that voice.
Yeah. And the song also has like a weird Urmila Rangila spoof suddenly where they're dancing on the caves, and then I don't know why that was added in it. And then it's like a whole sequence of 30 seconds when they're doing like an Urmila dance suddenly. And this really feels just like a reason to have a holiday, basically. They shot 3 songs there or 2 songs there, and that was it. You have a La 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 Long, which again, Anu Malik classic, rip-off artist, just like, stealing songs left and right.
And then the basic template of Chori Chori Chalo Gori people ki chao mein. Kata chub jayega pao mein.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, this rhyming sequence is just...
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Like, and I'm like this. I know this album was a hit. I know they made money with this, right? Oh, yeah, there's also the kiddie song, right? Bum Chiki Chiki Bum, which goes on for way too long. It doesn't stop. Yeah. I don't think this was this was a good watch. I'll have to admit. And there's so many songs, they come one after the other, and it just slows down the music, the flow of this movie. It's very hard to sit through. I was just like, if I don't think I would have finished this movie if it wasn't for the podcast, basically.
I would not even have started this movie if it wasn't for the podcast.
Yeah.
Amrit, I had to postpone this podcast episode recording 3 times.
I was like literally like re-evaluating my life choices when I was watching this movie.
Oh God.
I think also the big play of this movie was probably Shahrukh's Kaiku scene. We need to talk a little bit about that. Because this is like really obsessive Shahrukh. So to set this up, right? Like what happens is basically like he's assaulting Juhi's character, right? Like, no. So Vivek Mushran has sacrificed his love for his friend, which again is never really established why this needs to happen.
But also it's just like really weird because like Juhi's like, oh, I love you, like blah blah blah, and Vivek is like, but like he needs to be saved, and the only way that you can save him is if you like go be his girlfriend. And I'm just like, I don't understand this logic, but okay.
It's that, why put that burden on the woman to sort him out, like plus also like clearly he loves Juhi, like that's clear, right? So why would you want, it's not like you're sacrificing your love for somebody that can take better care of her or is going to be a better man than you. It's like, no, go to this gangster that's going to get killed next week, like go be with him. So he's done this big sacrifice. So Juhi is kind of like, chalo, let's try and all that. I don't know what the motivation of Juhi's character is, but like Ram Jaane basically has blue balls at that point, and he's just like, like we need to get something going here. And she says, no, shadi se pehle nahi, that kind of sequence, which is just the absurdity because you're clearly in this gangster universe. We were talking about, she basically he's basically putting the moves on her. She doesn't want it because shadi se pehle kabhi nahi, and then
he is not putting the moves on her. He is practically throwing her everywhere.
Yeah. No. So she tells him, no, he's like, it's basically that Diwar scene, right? Like, yeah, uske paas kya hai? Mere paas to bela hai, mere paas paisa hai, and all that. And she's like, oh, he actually gave me to you, he actually loves me, but he gave me to you. And then he gets into a fit of rage. And I think what Shahrukh is playing, like, he's like, because I love her, I'm going to give her away and I'm going to really be a bad guy. So she has to kind of, leave. I think and then immediately he hits her basically, right? And then he's so enraged, like, why did I hit her? And he's like, breaking the glass table with his arms.
But
and
he doesn't say why. He says, Kaiko!
Oh God, it's really like, I mean, we've proven our Shahrukh love enough on this show. I could not stand him in this sequence.
I could stand him throughout the entire film, and that is very rare for me. Like usually there's at least like 1 or 2 things where I'm just like, oh, that's the charming Shahrukh, blah blah. This was just the worst character ever. Like he was just whiny and he was loud, and that accent was like a hate crime against Bombay people. It was just like awful. Like it was absolutely freaking awful.
Yeah. And I think there's a few of these movies of Shahrukh that we've kind of like forgotten, especially the kids have forgotten because kids have been raised on, K3G Shahrukh and onwards, right? And this Shahrukh, and I'm dreading the day we have to cover Anjam. I'm dreading the day we have to cover Guddu because we are still in for a rough ride. We've picked out the best. Now it's the rest.
No, you know what? The Anjam might surprise you because I've seen like bits and pieces of it, and that's an actually interesting performance in my opinion. But like this
And
is like
it's got
nothing
like
goes for it.
Madhuri.
It's got
Yeah.
Madhuri, which makes it interesting. But
Yeah.
again, Madhuri is married to Deepak Tijori in that one, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And there's Chane Ke Khet Mein, which will
Yeah. And Khoya
keep
Okay,
it
Mera
let's
going.
Dil
pitch
Hai.
Ranjam next then.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just Ranjam. Didn't they do a remake of Chane Ke Khet Mein recently? Didn't Sunny Leone do a Chane Ke Khet Mein remake?
I don't know.
I think this happened, guys. I think
It must be
There
your
was
dream
an
sequence.
there was an Ek Do Teen remix that happened.
yeah, that was a Jacqueline
Jacqueline.
Fernandez, right?
Yeah.
I'm literally Googling it while we talk, so because I'm 100% sure I've seen her do this.
Okay.
Okay. Maybe not. Maybe it was in my dream.
Yes, it was. That's what you're
scary-
dreaming.
A scary look into Asim's dream personality.
Guys, I'm
Sunil
going to
is-
find this and you're going to be like, see, he was right, like you guys always do.
Sunny Leone singing Chane Ke Khet Mein.
Dancing to it. I remember because she's like, oh, this is such a... Because Sunny Leone is very nice, right? On Instagram, she's a very nice person. And she was like, very like, oh, I'm so scared to do this Madhuri song. And I don't know if it was Chane Ke Khet Mein or it was something else, but she definitely recently a Madhuri song. Anyway, we'll correct or find this. I think we're done. I don't want to talk about this movie anymore. This sucks. I hated this. I didn't like it. Yeah. Final words, Amrita, on Shahrukh, on Ram Jaane.
Ram Jaane sucks, and so does everyone in it. Please don't watch.
So, Joy, your first time watching Ram Jaane, what did you think?
I don't wish to visit this era of Shahrukh. I'm dreading the other movies of this era of Shahrukh that we are going to visit at some point.
Because could it be that Salman was doing better movies in that time than Shahrukh was?
I think Salman was doing better movies than Amir at this point.
Yeah, Amir we didn't even put into the equation here.
No, I think Salman was definitely doing better movies than like any of them like at this point. But then Shahrukh did have like Dar, Bazigar and
Yes, the ones that were
PDLJ.
good really
really good.
catapulted.
Yeah.
But what Salman was doing, like the thing is with Shahrukh, he worked with like the best wanted to work with him. Salman did this with the rest. Like he did it with the B team, and like a lot of his movies were legit good at that time.
Also, it is really, I just want to point out like the rest and like, the B team includes his dad because his dad was writing a lot of these movies that he was in.
Yeah.
So that's really funny that you would call Salim Khan the B team.
I'm trying to go back to what he was doing, Salman, at that time.
So this in 95 he did Karan Arjun and Veer Gati.
Amazing. Veer Gati.
And then
classic.
Amir Khan did Rangila and Akele Hum Akele Tum.
I mean,
I think-
Rangila is like good. Akele Hum Akele Tum, I cannot stand.
I was just gonna say, should we do Akele Hum Akele Tum on the next one? I've not seen that movie.
It's like the worst remake of Kramer versus Kramer that I have ever, like you can ever imagine. Like it is just horrendous.
Salman did Khamoshi actually immediately in 96 and Jeet and Judwa. So this is actually a good era for Salman, to be honest, right? Yeah. Auzar then. And thus thus I'm still sad. I can't believe thus never got made, man. That would have been so amazing. Chalo, that's it. Enough. Amrita, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at AmritaIQ.
Sujoy?
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at 93K. And you can also follow Khandaan Podcast on all our socials at Khandaan Podcast.
Join us on Patreon, subscribe, support our show, and Kaiku nahi kiya abhi tak re. Kaiku nahi kiya. Leave us a message. I think we're going to be back next week with an episode. We haven't really chosen what we're going to be doing. Thanks for listening.
Khandaan Podcast, 100th episode. singing. Girl, you're my chum,